Welcome to California Edition. I'm Brad Pomerance. We are joined today by Donna Deutchman. She is the CEO of Homes for Families. And this is a woman, an individual, who has dedicated herself to developing solutions for our veterans. And we speak so often about wanting to serve and help the veterans. But honestly, her solutions are those I've never heard. We're about to talk about a program, I've never heard of a program like this. And that's because they don't exist. I mean, this truly is an innovative, pioneering program that you hope to take not only throughout California, but the nation and the world. So before we talk about this solution that you have developed, I want to speak about our veterans, who in so many ways are so varied, from World War II to modern day Iraq and Afghanistan. What do you hear, see, and feel when you think about and talk to our veterans?
Thank you, Brad. Today's veteran is as diverse a population as the nation as a whole. We have many, many more immigrant veterans who've come to the country as young people who are really trying to find their way. They don't play basketball, they don't play football, they don't sing or dance. And so they really want to get out of their poverty situation. They want to get out of their ghettos. They want to get into good jobs, good training.
And so often, some of these immigrants, or just otherwise, may not be college bound for whatever reason, and they decide to join the military, which in a lot of ways is a wise decision, because you can grow as a human being immensely by joining the military, and the benefits can be very significant.
Absolutely. We also find a lot of young women who have an early pregnancy and become unwed mothers early in life, find this as a solution, as a way out of secondary unwed parenthood. They go into the military. We don't have student loans the way we did when maybe you or I were young.
Isn't that
and so they go looking for the education, looking for the training. However, not because of any flaw in the military itself, but because of our current conflicts, they end up 8 years later having been deployed for 6 or 7 years. This is the average that our veterans that we're dealing with have been deployed, and they haven't received the training. What they have received is a tremendous amount of education in terms of leadership, life, and many, many things, but not the skills they need to really enter the economic stream and do better than their circumstances.
What's baffling to me, though, about the plight of many veterans today, it's undeniable. After World War II, after Korea, we welcomed our veterans home with open arms. After Vietnam, it was a little more layered and textured and complicated when we welcomed those veterans home. Welcome may not be the right word, if you know what I'm saying. But with the veterans from Afghanistan and Iraq, I feel like we were there to welcome them, and I'm pointing no fingers at anyone, but yet even those welcoming arms haven't been enough.
No, and part of the reason for that is the system, that it takes so long to get their benefits, often 2 years. Part of the reason for that...
I mean, forgive me, but we made a contract with them. Our contract was, you serve, when you come home, we're there for you. I don't understand how. We know they're coming home. They've been coming home for 235 years. How are we not prepared to have their benefits in line?
It is a massive system, and it is a system that we have asked as a people to train people to go into the military and to fight. We've not asked it in the past to be so prepared to be a social welfare system.
Okay, but I hear you, and I know I'm preaching to the choir.
Oh, you're preaching to the choir.
It is still, it is still baffling to me.
It is baffling, and they're trying to do better, but it is baffling, and it takes too long.
Right. So when these young men and women come home, what do you see?
One of the things that we see is too many promises and not enough follow-through, so that they actually become severely disheartened. They have a lot of people running to them, offering services, taking a lot of pictures, putting them in the paper, and nothing happens. So one of the things we know working with veterans is that if you're going to make an offer, you have to deliver quickly. One of the things we see is them getting into tremendous amounts of debt.
And let's talk about debt, because debt is a scourge on our society, and it could be a college student, it could be a veteran. But what's so maddening to me about veteran debt is some of that debt was racked up while they were out of the country.
Absolutely.
And they didn't even know the debt was racking up. And it is so hard to get through the morass of debt repair that I feel as if we need to help out, but
we absolutely need to help out. Again, because the conflicts are different, there's no behind the lines.
what does that mean?
What that means is most of us are familiar with the show MASH.
Oh yeah.
Okay, so in MASH, people would go to Seoul and they would party and they would take a weekend off from the war, and there was a behind the lines. Kelly's Heroes
see
or
what
any
you're
of the
saying.
movies,
Right.
there was always a place to go that was safe. You could set up a base behind the lines. In the current conflicts within those countries, there's no safe place. What that means...
Not even, is it the green zone or?
No. Everywhere is subject to conflict. Everywhere is subject to being bombed, to being attacked in some manner. So the bases where they pay your bills, where they do your paperwork, are not able to guarantee that things are going to happen in a timely manner.
Well, why? I just, again, you signed a contract. You, metaphorically speaking, as a soldier, signed a contract. We can't create a system whereby, while you're fighting for us, we can't make sure that your minimal, I presume there are minimal bills. I mean, given that their every need is taken care of. And I don't mean that in a pejorative way, but we can't, as a people, make sure that doesn't happen?
Veterans are overseas with entire families at home.
Yeah.
2, 3, 4 kids.
Yeah.
Also in the mortgage crisis, which we do have legislation about, many veterans
Right.
were foreclosed on even though it's illegal to do so.
I'm aware of that. And I believe California passed specific legislation, if not the nation, to protect veterans from foreclosure abuse.
Correct. Then when they come home,
Yes, please.
there's a lot of abuse. When they come home, it takes 2 years to get your military benefits. If you have medical issues, which almost all do, almost 100%.
Psychiatric,
for example.
psychological.
Also auditory, almost 100% come with some form of hearing loss. You're going to get into medical debt unless if your family has the resources to cover you.
Again, forgive me for seeming so shocked, but the VA's been around forever. We know about their problems from the last 7, 8 months, whatever it may be, but we know they're coming home. Why are we not prepared to deal with their medical issues?
Because it takes certain measures to qualify somebody for VA benefits.
Qualify, you've come home.
Not everybody qualifies. That's a misnomer to think that
Really?
every veteran qualifies for VA benefits.
Okay.
It depends. You
So-
have to be qualified as a certain percentage disabled.
So medical debt racks up. I mean, that's an issue,
Medical
not
debt.
just for veterans. Standard credit debt can rack up.
Yes, and then we do have predators. One of the biggest predators, unfortunately, are certain disreputable. There are many reputable, but there are disreputable private educational programs.
But aren't we supposed to provide our veterans with the modern day GI Bill that you serve, you go to school?
Yes, and what that means is that if you have a predatory system that signs a veteran up for an educational program that they cannot master, that they don't necessarily qualify for, and they do not master it, if they fail out of a semester, they then owe that money back.
I know what you're saying. When we come back, I want to talk more about our veterans and talk about the innovative program we've been discussing. We're speaking with Donna Deutchman. She's CEO of Homes for Family. I'm Brad Pomerance. We'll be right back. Welcome back. It's California Edition. We're speaking today with Donna Deutchman. She is the CEO of Homes for Families, and I want to continue our conversation, speak about what happens to the veterans when they are being crushed by the weight of debt, be it they had a mortgage and they got foreclosed upon, medical debt, education debt. What happens when they come home and they have had this debt or it gets racked up quickly?
Well, I don't want to pose veterans as victims
No.
because they're not.
Well, but sometimes they have been victimized.
But they've been victimized.
Right.
And what I do want to say about them is they get this incredible debt. It seems unbearable. Many of them end up couch surfing, going from friend to neighbor to family member. They have been essentially robbed of their 20s.
Right.
The era that most of us are able to experiment, to figure these things out, to open our checking accounts, to get into maybe a little bit of credit experience, to understand, to learn. They've been away for their 20s. 8 years, 6 of them deployed. Many of them come back. In addition to credit debt, they may have 3 kids. Okay?
And so with 3 kids, often you're looking for a home.
That's correct.
Living in the apartment, couch surfing, living at mom and dad's probably won't be effective.
Correct.
The problem, though, is that they have poor credit scores.
That's
generally
correct.
speaking. Consumer debt, mortgage debt, medical debt, whatever debt it is, education debt. And
We had a family of 4. No, excuse me, 4 children.
So
An
family of 6.
8-year-old, twins who were 4 years old, and a 3-year-old. 2 veterans, husband and wife, both veterans. They did not have an address, so they could not get their veteran benefits. They could not enroll their 8-year-old in school because they did not have an address. They could not qualify for an apartment because they did not have their benefits.
What happened to them?
They were spending all of their life savings in a hotel so that their kids weren't sleeping in the car. As a organization, we don't provide rental. However, we needed to bend to put them into a mobile home to rent so that they could get their benefits, and now they're working towards a house.
And let's talk about this. This is the moment that I want you to listen to, because this is the moment where this woman and her innovative ideas have come to bear and come to fruition. You decided that you wanted to look at a housing program specifically for veterans, a very unique targeted group, but you were presented with challenges, and that was regulatory. Explain the regulatory challenges you were faced with as you proceeded to look at veterans housing.
Absolutely, and the key word is bend. We needed to bend to our programs to get this veteran family into a mobile home so that they can now pay their bills, get their money. They're perfectly capable of being self-sufficient for the time being to work towards a house, and we will work with them.
But they're a metaphor.
They're a metaphor. They're a real family.
But a metaphor
but
for...
they are also a metaphor for something that needs to happen. Our veterans who are 30 years old, who have 9-year-olds who spent 8 years in service, have learned leadership, they've learned loyalty, they've learned to be civic leaders and community givers.
But not,
okay,
yeah.
But they haven't learned to balance a checkbook.
Yeah.
They haven't learned financial literacy. Their parents didn't have it. That's why they went into the service. They wanted to learn things. So they come back with every intent. We went up to the Department of Veteran Affairs, the California Department of Veteran Affairs. CalVet. And we asked them to do that magic word, bend.
So explain what CalVet needed to do to allow you to develop a housing program for veterans that would allow them to become homeowners.
CalVet needed to do regulatory changes with their home loans to allow for low-income veterans to qualify. And the secret to that was that we needed to meet the responsibilities of a solid home loan department, which meant that we needed to provide homes where there was equity in the deal. So homes to the veterans and to the home loan department at a low cost to the value.
And the home loan department of Calvet.
That's correct.
They are the lending entity in this scenario.
They are the first lender. We are the second lender for 20% of the home. So we are building homes for veterans in what is called a production build, a veteran community known as a Calvet REN, residential enriched neighborhood.
And this, again, is an innovation I have never heard.
It is a first of its kind.
And let's be as specific as possible, because you have opened one of these RENs, residential enriched neighborhood.
In the city of Sylmar.
In Sylmar, which is in northeast Los Angeles County.
That's correct.
And this, as you describe it, is an oasis.
It is an oasis.
An oasis for veterans who are so often in need of, I mean, I could say a hug, but metaphorically and literally.
And it's not as I describe it, it's as the veterans describe it, and I'll tell you why. There is a veteran, a young woman, who worked in the motorcade. She worked cleaning Jeeps.
In Iraq and Afghanistan, I presume.
Actually in Iraq. She is reintegrating into the community. She's a mom, she has a husband, she has parents. She goes out every day, and we want to reintegrate with the general community. She goes out every day, and she's in the classroom with her kids, and she's at work, and she's at the grocery store. But everybody thinks, oh, you worked in the motorcade, you cleaned Jeeps, you were fine. The truth is, every day she sent friends out in those Jeeps, and every day some of them came back, and she had to clean them off the Jeeps. Another veteran knows that. They know that immediately. We don't have to talk about that when I come home. We can sit outside and watch our kids on their bikes, and everybody in the circle knows. They know. And when we do art together, or we do a barbecue, or this Saturday we're having 59 of the children for a holiday party, they all know. And that knowledge gives her the energy and the feeling of comfort to go back out again into that community that doesn't know, and the support she needs. So that's the importance of the Calvet REN. Now, what happened at the state level, led by Secretary Peter Gravitt, and I have to say that because I have worked in public policy for 3 decades. And I have never seen a government entity bend to the extent that this one did to make the regulatory changes that were necessary, which included waivers, so that if you're a veteran out there and you have the belief that your credit will not qualify for this program, you need to call us. You need to go on to calvetren.com. or homes for the number 4 families.org.
And we'll put all that information on the screen. But here's the point. You have 12 homes opened in Sylmar, and we'll talk more about them when we come back. You have another almost 200 coming online.
Absolutely.
This is not a once-in-a-lifetime program. This is a program that is going statewide. And so when we come back, I want to talk more about Sylmar. And I want to talk about what may be happening in Santa Clarita, Palmdale, Riverside, Harupa Valley, Poway. Her name is Donna Deutchman. She is a pioneer. She is the CEO of Homes for Family. I'm Brad Pomerance. We'll be right back.
Thank you.
Welcome back to California Edition. I'm Brad Pomerance. We continue our conversation with Donna Deutchman. She is the CEO of Homes for Family, a veteran housing program that is launched. There are 12 enriched neighborhood homes in Sylmar, and there may be in the following communities: 81 in Santa Clarita, 50 in Palmdale, 12 in Riverside, 27 in Jurupa Valley, and potentially 20 in Poway. These neighborhoods are unique and special. Give us an example of what Sylmar looks like so we can envision what we may see in the future.
Well, the homes can be built. First of all, I have to say this. I think it's important that we're looking for land and partnership with cities.
Of course.
These are done with CalVet Ren, working with builders, affordable housing builders. In the case of Sylmar and Santa Clarita and Palmdale, the builder is Habitat for Humanity, San Fernando, Santa Clarita Valleys.
Know it well.
In the case of Riverside and Jurupa Valley, the builder is Habitat for Humanity, Riverside. And so that it can be done with different affordable housing builders. CalVet is the main funder, and the builder then works in partnership.
But
What's really critical is the enriched neighborhood piece.
And I'm looking at a list of wraparound services that you offer. I'd like to live in this community. I mean, how wonderful what you're offering. You have classes in budget, savings, credit, debt management, financial training, gardening, home repair, art, insurance. You have optional classes on healthcare issues. You have services, counseling, literacy, training, PTSD. I mean, it just goes on and on.
And these are the courses that allowed for the regulatory changes. Financial literacy being a major one.
Sure.
These have been researched for over a decade with low-income families, and they've produced zero foreclosure rates even in the current economic climate. They've produced 99% graduation rates, high-level college graduation rates, almost 84% going to four-year universities, even in the city of Pacoima.
So, for example, if I went into the Sylmar facility, we'll call it a facility, neighborhood, is there a community room, as an example, where the classes are held, or how does it work?
They're held in nearby community rooms, in this case the Vet Center in Chatsworth, as well as in people's garages. In the community itself, we have urban community gardens so that the families can have nutrition classes coupled with access, which is very important in low-income neighborhoods, that you have access.
Meaning access
to fresh fruits and vegetables. So you need to have the urban community garden there wherever possible. We have online courses as well. There's 4 certificated financial education courses that are done online. And then what's very important for the veteran community are the trauma-informed programs.
I have to tell you, about 3 years ago, we were in our Riverside Bureau, and I was interviewing the head of Riverside County's Veterans Affairs Department, and he brought with him a veteran. I've told this story before. 6'3", 220, handsome, poster boy for a good-looking vet. He could barely speak. His PTSD was that severe. I just could not believe what I was looking before my very eyes. He was on the other side of crisis, but his PTSD was so dramatic. And I'm looking at this, gentleman who looks like he should have it all. Fortunately, he had access services. From that moment, if I ever had any doubt about the legitimacy of PTSD, those doubts are gone. I mean, PTSD is devastating. It's devastating.
If you think about it, it's a fact that veterans for 6 or more years may be living with close interpersonal violence, where at any moment A bomb could go off.
Of course.
The friend next to you could die. It would be insane not to be traumatized by that.
Right.
So one of the things, though, that has been found is that veterans like veteran-to-veteran programming. They need to talk to each other. Our programs for PTSD are holistic.
Which means, I know what that means, but what does it mean?
Well, it's very complicated. Our homes take into account PTSD. For example, fluorescent lighting is terrible for anybody with PTSD, traumatic brain injury.
Really? I didn't know that.
ADHD even. So we have no fluorescent lighting within the homes. Our home's design takes into account the fact that veterans today have over 100 pounds in their packs, so almost every veteran has knee and back problems. So even if they don't need a fully ADA home, we put all of our plugs and switches at knee level so that the knee pain isn't exacerbated. We have PTSD showers.
What would that mean?
We have 6 different modifications because with PTSD comes fainting spells, claustrophobia,
I see.
fear of the shower door, having the tat of the...
These are notions we wouldn't even know existed. I mean, how would I know that? How would anyone know that?
2 years of speaking to veterans.
Exactly.
And so we have a seat that's like a Murphy bed, it flips down and up. We have all kinds of modifications to address those things so that the veteran can have the highest level of independence, and the issues are brought to the fore and discussed in a very accepting manner, and that they cannot be humiliated by their home environment. And then bring them in to have vet-to-vet art programs, equine therapy.
If you think about it, we as a nation have dedicated so much of our resources to these men and women. You know, without sounding crass, it's a return on our investment.
Absolutely.
If we get them kind of bounced back quickly. You know, like you said, the leadership skills they've developed, the technical skills they've developed, it makes sense, you know, just in a cost-benefit analysis that we want these men and women to come back healthy. And we help to maintain their health, which can be done. I mean, this is not that hard to attain.
And our trauma-informed art program, Windows, is one of the programs that the veterans who go through it, and it's vet to vet, it's sitting down, and I tell them, come in, drink a cup of coffee, glue a feather to a piece of paper.
I like it. We're concluding our conversation, so as we conclude, I want you to tell us, how can someone who is watching right now access you, access Homes for Families, access this program? Because I am convinced that we will see the homes in Santa Clarita, Palmdale, Riverside, Hooper Valley, Poway, and more.
You will. And CalVet has made that possible, so you can go to CalVet REN, R-E-N, Residential Enriched Neighborhood.com, or Homes4, that's the number 4, families.org.
Application online, what happens next?
Application is online, and we will help you. Veterans who have certain disabilities may have trouble filling out applications. We have people who stand ready. If you want this, we will help you make it happen.
I want to thank you so much for joining us, but most importantly, I want to thank you for developing this innovative solution for our veterans. They deserve it.
Absolutely.
They deserve it.
They earned it.
Yep, they have. Well stated. Her name is Donna Deutchman. She is the CEO of Homes for Families. My name is Brad Pomerance. Thank you so much for watching California Edition.